Hello, my name is Sarisha Ramjeawon and I am from the University of KwaZulu-Natal studying towards my master's degree in environmental science. I will be addressing our global climate crisis. I quote, "If you think you are too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito." Unquote. This is the motto I live by. You are probably wondering why I am calling this issue the climate crisis and not climate change. This is because the climate crisis is a term that encompasses both global warming and climate change together with their consequences. Without a doubt, the COVID-19 pandemic has taken the world by such a storm. We would assume that there is less traveling, less air pollution, and perhaps a difference in climate. But that is a very risky generalization. We have countries like the United Kingdom that allowed the lockdown to decrease their seasonal spring smog, but that was counteracted by other activities such as agriculture and wood burning to heat homes. So by how much did the lockdown actually lock down our carbon dioxide emissions and air pollution globally? We need to ask ourselves, is COVID-19 the only inclining global pandemic lingering in our environment, affecting our health, economy, and social interactions? The simple answer is no. The biggest problem facing our world today is the failure to accept that our global climate crisis was and still is a global pandemic. How fast we act and react today will determine whether it is an inclining global pandemic tomorrow. You need to remember that change can either be good or bad, but minimalistic good changes currently do not surpass the adverse changes in the case of Earth. One country alone who practices green initiatives and develops energy-saving mechanisms does not substantiate for a global change. There needs to be holistic participation from the entire world. And it's not just about acting now, it's about how fast we can do it. We have countries around the world spending months on end trying to find a cure for COVID-19, a pandemic that makes man suffer, cry, and even suffocate. But the world fails to see that Earth has been feeling the exact same way for the past few decades. We have rising sea levels, damaged corals, more droughts and fires, and higher temperatures. The list is endless, and it's common to our ears. On the contrary, we get surprised to see movies or novels of the past that predicted COVID-19. Still, it means nothing for you to read about our ozone layer depleting, forests burning, or even extinction rates increasing. We have undoubtedly believed the myth that Earth will always be there. Politicians want to talk about saving the economy. You have failed us continuously, especially when we speak about saving our planet. It's overdue for us to save our future generations, but it's not too late. Consider the following example. A baby born in the first world country is looked after in an expensive daycare center, wears brand name clothing, and has more than 4 meals a day. So he's well nourished and has a good hygiene status, versus a child born in a third world country whose mother doesn't know when their next meal is coming from, wears one piece of clothing for days, is undernourished and living in a slum. Despite their different backgrounds, cultures, and place of birth, both are babies. When these two babies grow up, they both have the same expectations of success, while people disregard their environments, social statuses, and upbringing. Similarly, philosophers, geographers, scientists, mathematicians, and others have different backgrounds, educations, cultures, and perceptions. This is due to how man has constructed the world through his existence and experience. This is why our mindset is so important. The central question is, what does the climate crisis have to do with Mr. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela and Mr. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi? These two individuals came from a very similar era, the era of basics. No Zoom meetings, no webinars. Instead, they communicated via letters that would take months to deliver. Mr. Gandhi did the Salt March to make people understand that imports are unnecessary and that supporting our own countries enable people to become more self-sufficient. He adored the idea of homespun materials and producing organic food from home gardens. On the other hand, Mr. Mandela had ideas that coincided with Mr. Gandhi. Mr. Mandela encouraged the development of spaza shops for South Africans to become self-sufficient. And guess what? Isn't it ironic that the teachings of these two phenomenal people have been reapplied in 2020? The COVID-19 has evolved people into chefs instead of constant consumers at restaurants. It has transformed talented people into farmers. It has literally brought us back to the basics, which is imperative. This is a rebirth of sustainability and our sustainable development goals via the principles that these two men followed. Truth, peace, non-violence, love, and forgiveness. The climate crisis is not the problem of the past or the problem to be resolved by future generations. You and I have to make it work now. This is this generation's mission. We cannot be victims of our past actions, dear ones. We need to let go of our stubbornness and eventually produce about changes that save planet Earth. One way to do this is to accept science, accept that our global climate crisis exists, and be the change you want to see in the world, as Mr. Gandhi once said. But why should we accept and believe in the importance of science? Because without science, you would have not been able to wake up without an alarm clock, have a shower powered by an electrical geyser, and you would have not been able to hear me speak wherever you are in the world right now. That is science. That is the power of science. Science education can help solve climate change, but not just this one discipline. This is where interdisciplinarity comes into importance. No one discipline is greater than the other. By having diversity in thinking and conforming to the environment, there's an increase in problem solving automatically. An upward spiral of innovative minds and creativity is enforced. The challenge with the solution is people being able to communicate well together, similarly to our cultures. In my honest opinion, both the human and physical parts of geography work in symbiosis. They form part of a system. Each part plays a vital role independently, just like organs in our body. However, one part alone cannot function optimally without the other. When we change the lenses of the glasses through which we see the world, everything else will change. More importantly, it is not what you see, but what you perceive. So reduce, reuse, and recycle. Save paper, save water. Plant more trees and say no to plastic. If we reject the wrong things today, Earth will accept us tomorrow. These initiatives and actions are our voice. So the question I pose to recruiters automatically change from can I employ youth to do the same job to can I afford such talented youth of this generation to tackle the global climate crisis amidst multiple disciplines? Dearest youth, do not let anyone stop your momentum to solve the climate crisis. Those who stop you will sacrifice the planet for their own greed. Remember, you cannot love what you don't know, and you won't conserve what you don't love. You are never too small to make a difference. I thank you.